Hey guys, and hello mostly to Internet Man and Minor-Alterations. Don't worry, this is unlisted, so just in case you're wondering, it's only going to be shown to those that I listed to. And I wanted to come out here and I wanted to do something that I was thinking about doing, because I just did a recommendation on YouTube for people to check you guys out, mostly you, Minor-Alterations. But I wanted to do a review on the current run of the collaborated story that you guys are doing between each other of Mr. Internet Man's character, your character, Mr. Internet Man, Demonica. And so far from what I've read, I actually kind of like where the story is going. I like how Ruby, who is, I think, what is she, a detective, cop, CIA agent, was at first unsure about Demonica. She wasn't too sure about her. But I like how she's kind of grown to like her beyond just, what's the word I'm looking for? I like how she's grown to like her beyond just being a confidant, if you will, an insider, someone that's willing to help when need be, but in her own unique way. I like how they've kind of grown to be beyond that, so that's kind of cool to see, or to read, I should say. And the ending of the story, of the latest chapter, kind of does open up a lot of possibilities, because it essentially sounds like what you've done by having Demonica kind of copy herself is you've allowed one of the Demonicas to kind of, by allowing themselves to be absorbed, or basically them self-absorbing themselves, or however you call it, into Ruby, and thus kind of giving her the same powers through that. I kind of like how the door is open for many possibilities whenever you guys reassume the story, which, from what I understand, what you guys mentioned to me, could be probably around next year, maybe almost at the end of this year. We're not really sure, or I'm guessing you're not really sure, but whenever you guys get to it, it sounds like the ending of part 4 is really opened the doors a lot to what could come. I mean, Ruby having basically, just because of the fact that you have one of the Demonica clones absorbed into her body, and thus by being absorbed and allowing herself to become part of the overall bodily system of Ruby's, giving her basically allowing Ruby to now experience the same powers and abilities that Demonica has. As I'm trying to say, really opens the door, because there is a lot of things you guys can end up doing with this. I mean, Mr. Internet Man, in the recent webcomic you did based on these stories called Cover All, you kind of gave an idea of what we may be in store for in future chapters. I mean, I would love to see basically Ruby with the powers of Demonica within her try to do a fusion with Demonica, and basically you have some kind of a fusion between the two. In other words, now they're not just one, because Demonica, as you put it in a comment to a fan, put Ruby to sleep while she envelops her and takes control of her body. But instead, they just literally fuse together into one individual, and they go by the name of Rubotica or Rumonica or something like that. It opens the doors for those possibilities. It opens the door sorry about that. But like I said, it opens the doors also for Ruby to have some mischievous fun as well. Because maybe it's just me, guys, and anybody else listening, but it almost sounds like, from what I read, it almost sounds like that now that Demonica is part of Ruby temporarily. Her flow. She's basically absorbed into Ruby, flowing throughout her, whatever, giving her the powers. It almost sounds like Ruby is ready to have some mischiefy fun herself by shapeshifting into whatever or whoever she wants. I mean, I can imagine Ruby shapeshifting into a car just to have some fun, or shapeshifting into a plant just to have some fun, or whatever. I can imagine that being put into a story, but then again, that's up to you guys. But I like what I'm getting out of this. I like what myself and anybody that is able to listen to this, I like what we're all getting here, because this is pretty good. This is pretty cool on your part to, allow a character to, well, not allow, but to open. What I'm trying to say is, it's pretty cool on your parts to, especially you, Minor-Alterations, to open up these possibilities, because I'm not sure if you, Mr. Internet Man, even thought about the fact that, well, actually you did think about the fact when you did the crossover story. Now that I think about it, you did think about that when you did the crossover story, but you didn't think about it to the fact that once Demonica kind of allows herself to become part of somebody, that she can also allow them to temporarily have her powers. So, like I said, opening, and I know I'm repeating myself, so I do apologize, but like I said, opening the doors to that possibility for a character like Ruby Walker is really great. And I can only imagine what you Minor-Alterations, and what you, Mr. Internet Man, have in store for future ideas when it comes to future chapters. So yeah, I would say keep it up, keep giving us a great story here. I cannot wait to see what you got in store next. But speaking of which, I do want to do something as well as part of this sort of review, and that's kind of do a prediction. Kind of give my own personal opinion and prediction as to maybe what I see coming in the future, and maybe what you guys might consider having in store, especially you, Minor, and you, Mr. Internet Man, what you guys have in store for future chapters and moments. All right. Now, as far as what I think could be happening soon, obviously, like I said in the recommendation video, towards the end, what I see possibly happening, because the door is open for this, no matter how people view this collaboration, I see eventually Ruby Walker finding out that Demonica is actually Veronica, the college student Veronica, underneath. Like, something's going to happen. I don't know what you guys have in store for when that moment occurs, if you decide to have it occur. But I could see an interesting interaction between the two. But I could also see Veronica kind of explaining why she allows herself to become Demonica, and maybe what she gets out of it in the long run. Like, maybe it brings out this wild side of her that she wouldn't dare bring out in public or on her own. So by becoming Demonica, she's allowed to be what she's hidden on the inside. Well, basically, she's allowed to be who she is on the inside, but not on the outside. It also allows her to have fun by, at the same time, becoming anything or anyone she wants, even if she just wants to, let's say, role play on her own, or with several clones, if you will, role play as different characters, inanimate objects, you name it. So that's one prediction. The other prediction I have is possibly, again, this is up to you guys, because I'm not really sure what you would have in store. But the other possibility I see in a future chapter or story, or future chapter or part, whatever it might be, or whenever it might be, is Ruby meeting Erotica, which is the other a character that Mr. Internet Man introduced, who is the alter ego, I think, of a character named Rebecca, who basically has the same powers and everything. And I predict sometime down the line, again, I don't know when you guys plan to do this, maybe you're considering doing it. But I'm almost guessing that sooner or later, Demonica is going to introduce Ruby to Erotica, and Erotica eventually is going to, just like with Demonica, eventually is going to be revealed to be this Rebecca character who's about the same age as Veronica, and basically will have the same kind of story and everything, and explanation to Ruby as to why they're in possession of these two magical items that when they apply it to the lips, turns them into these mischievous elf-like creatures that can become anything or anyone they want, at any time. So I do predict Erotica coming into the picture soon. And again, possibly this would lead, what I'm thinking now just came to me, this possibly leads to the revelation as to who Demonica and Erotica really are, outside of being, what Ruby sees them as first. Another prediction I see happening, and I mentioned this earlier about fusion and all that, I do predict that what's going to happen is Ruby, out of curiosity, is going to want to know, and she probably shouldn't be guessing out of curiosity, but it's going to want to, but basically curiosity is going to get the best of her, is going to want to know if Erotica and Demonica can fuse together into one. And when they say they can, I'm almost thinking, perhaps, again, this is totally up to what you guys have planned, because it would create an interesting dynamic, that when they acknowledge that they can fuse into one, that they want to give, that if Demonica is played the way she is, she and Erotica are going to basically try to tell Ruby, yeah, but when we fuse, we're going to become someone so completely different that you might have to control yourself to avoid breaking out into a cat fight just because of the way they are. Like I said, they may warn Ruby to kind of control herself to avoid getting into a cat fight if they decide to fuse into Angelica or Angela, like we saw in the webcomic that Mr. Internet Man did. Because from what has been described by you, Mr. Internet Man, is Angela is basically like the complete opposite almost of both ladies. So it might be interesting to see what they do there. Or it might be interesting to see what you guys do there if that's one of the directions you're going with. But again, these are just my own personal predictions as to where I see maybe your story going if you decide to go in that direction. Because, let's be honest, the doors are open to many possibilities happening. One of the last things I predict could happen is we could have a repeat of both Demonica and, well, basically either Demonica or Exotica, maybe just Demonica, cloning herself and allowing herself to be absorbed into Ruby, thus once again giving Ruby her temporary use of her powers. And I see basically all three of them attempting a three-ray fuse where they become someone completely different, someone that might be a mix of what they become as Angela, but might also be a mixture of Ruby's personality as well, or something like that. I could see that occurring. Which would be interesting. And I could also see maybe Erotica and Ruby fusing as well after Demonica, like I said, clones herself and allows one of those clones to be self-absorbed into Ruby. And maybe what they become is someone completely different as well, that being Erotica and Ruby, again, these are just predictions in my opinion of what I see possibly you guys going with. I could be wrong, but it's all up to what direction you decide to go with, or where you decide to take the story in the future. But I could definitely, like I say, see something like that occurring. And then, like I said, I could see them doing a three-way fusion with them being someone completely different that's kind of a hybrid personality-wise of who Angela is and maybe a bit of who Ruby is or something. And then last but not least, I predict something that apparently Mr. Internet Man and Minor-Alterations, you guys seem to really be getting into with these stories. And Minor-Alterations, if you're the one writing it, I could predict this probably happening because you had it happen to Ruby at the end of part 4. And I could see an ultimate meltdown. I could see them both, all three of them, you know, even after Ruby's gotten the powers temporarily again, I can see them melting down or kind of having some kind of session or something like that where they basically all melt down into a puddle of goo and just remain that way to probably end whatever chapter of the story or part of the story you decide to end it on. I could see that happening. I could see them becoming like a multicolored puddle that may, if you decide, again, these are my speculations and predictions, decides to have maybe expand across whatever room they're in and cover it all in the gooiness or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of where I see it. That's kind of what in my opinion, I see possibly happening with your stories or with your characters in the future if you decide to go in that direction. So overall, in the end, like I said at the beginning, I really like what you're doing with the Demonica story. I actually Minor-Alterations like what you do with a lot of your stories, but the Demonica one is something that myself and a lot of fans have been waiting for. And really, that's all I could say. And again, what I gave you afterwards may have been a little longer, but those are just my predictions, in my opinion, of where I see possibly you guys in the future, if you decide to do it, taking the Demonica story and running with it with whatever you have planned. But again, those are just my mere predictions and speculations from my own opinion. So thank you guys for what you do with these stories, and hope to see more in the future, and hope to see, honestly, Minor-Alterations. Hope to see more liquid girls melting into puddles, maybe evaporating, whatever. Or maybe just enjoying being puddles of goo or whatever. You get the idea. But really, keep up the great work, guys, and that's all I could say. So God bless you guys. Hope you have happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and looking forward to seeing part 5 in the future, as well as looking forward to the written adaptation of Cover All by you, Minor-Alterations.